Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another episode of the Just Scenes podcast. Today, the topic I want to discuss and talk about is authenticity and manifestations through being authentic and 100% being your authentic self, and how to not necessarily how to do that, because anybody, it's easy to be yourself, but then again, at the same time, it's very hard. But manifesting your reality and creating your world by being yourself is the ultimate way to make your world function as you want it to. The reason why this topic came about is because someone asked the question, like, I guess in all dynamics, like from my podcast to my books to my social media page to everything that I do, they said, why do you use profanity when you speak? I got the whole cliche of you're far too intelligent to use certain words or speak a certain way. So I felt that, it needs to be addressed why I do that, because in one dynamic I kind of explain the shit. That's the whole reason of my setup of everything that I do being called Just Sing. And then, the slogan behind that is nothing less, always more. And the reason for that is because no matter how many different hats we wear, no matter how many different hats we put on, we'll get to a point where someone will make us wear that one hat, no matter how many we have. And it's not fair because it boxes us in. And when it keeps us in this box, it keeps us from, manifesting our true reality. So when it comes to me and my expression behind that, I typically try to express my authentic self as much as I possibly can. So what you're getting, and you're not confused about it. There's no there's nothing that you can say of it being shocking. Like if I say something that you probably didn't expect, or like I don't want that, because I want to be able to be myself in the things that I do. You feel what I'm saying? And so my response to the person was, because in order for me to manifest the things that I want, I have to be authentic in and out. I just can't be authentic when I'm by myself. I can't be authentic, when I'm in the comfort of myself. I have to be that same person and that same being and exude that same essence when I'm out, in the world. And of course, I'll meet and I'll align with the people that are more, I'm better able to align with the people that are in the same path of which way that I'm going. So I felt like it was very important to have this conversation, because there's so many people who box themselves in, who cage themselves in, because once they become a certain thing, they remain that certain thing, and they don't try to deviate from it in any way, shape, or form. They don't try to show every hat they have, but they show the hat that everybody wants to see the most. For me, the only hat that I really want people to see is that it's me, and I'm learning that as time goes on, and as, I progress in life, that my life gets better when I'm able to do shit 100% authentically. You feel what I'm saying? So if you follow me on social media, I'm sure you've probably seen, like, in one breath, I'll say some shit about, Dragon Ball Z and Goku fighting somebody or some shit. And then I'll turn around and drop a very philosophical comment and caption that is really thought provoking, that changes people's perspective on things, and some people can't get that. Some people can't do that because they don't have the comfort to do that. I'm a forensic biologist, by degree. I say by degree because I don't work in the field, but I'm a forensic biologist. So, I come from a scientific perspective in some points. I study a lot of meditative practices and a lot of spiritual things. So I come from that perspective. And then, sometimes I just do ratchet shit because, that's a part of my upbringing, but I can't, all of these things, make me, and all of these things make us as who we are. So we need to understand that when we're creating our reality, the best way and 100% way to get everything that you want is you have to be authentic inside and out, through and through. And that's what will get your manifestations in accordingly. But before we get deep into that, as always, if you aren't already, follow me on Instagram at _just_seen_. Get all of the merchandise that I create on at the Just Scenes merch page. It's not the Just Scenes merch, it's just Scenes merch. Or if you're looking to transition into the plant-based lifestyle and you would like a guide that's very down to earth and to the point, you can get my book, The Hitting It Raw program. The Hitting It Raw, Living a Raw Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. And you can follow the Instagram page at the Hitting It Raw program. Also, don't forget to get my book, So Frail 1, A Reality of Black Male Masculinity. So Frail 2, Toxic Femininity. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break and we shall be right back. Oh yeah, and don't forget to visit unapologetically.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So Frail series to your library? Visit unapologetically.com. You want to learn how to master the market for serious trading and investing? Visit unapologetically.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit unapologetically.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit unapologetically.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit unapologetically.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at unapologetically.com. So just take a quick peek into my world and see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it. You will never see it unless you visit unapologetically.com. All right. Welcome back. Hope everybody's back in good spirits and, you're ready for some, a rather, I say, important conversation, because I think a lot of times people lose sight of their reality and lose their ability to be themselves as their lives progress. One thing that I've been called a lot is childlike. Some people say it's child. Some people try to call me childish, but I have to correct them and say, no, it's childlike. I just never lost my childlike nature because I kept that intact. And I got to thank my mom for that, because anything that I ever wanted to do as a child, she pushed me to do it. And she gave me the freedom to do it. I couldn't just, and this, now I'm speaking like from the intangible level. Like if I wanted to learn something, she taught me how to be a scholar, because that was innately within me, just to study and shit like that. But, a lot of us, as we grow older, we start to lose what our true essence really is over time, and we can find it to a certain box. You feel what I'm saying? So, before we go into it, we have to understand like what a manifestation really is. And a manifestation is simply whatever is in your mind, whatever you are conceiving in your mind, you are bringing it into reality. You feel what I'm saying? That's manifestation. And manifestations, they don't necessarily have to be some mystical, philosophical shit that, you need certain energies to manipulate to be. All you have to do is be your motherfucking self. The more authentic you are with yourself, the greater your manifestations will be. The more authentic you are with yourself and the more you're able to be yourself comfortably in any medium, in any dynamic, then the better you could be. Now, this is not to say that, you go into certain realms and you operate a way that you wouldn't, that you're not supposed to. That's different. Being yourself is also, and I'll get to that, in a little bit, but being yourself and an extension of that is knowing when and where to turn it on and when and where to turn it off, and knowing when and where you're supposed to be maneuvering, according to who you are. You feel what I'm saying? So when it comes to our manifestations, when it comes to the things that we are supposed to bring into this world, the first quintessential piece to make it more tangible is to be yourself. And you have to be able to be yourself in every single facet that you operate, which is hard because so many of us have to, especially when we become adults. Like when we become adults, we die as children. Like our children, our inner child dies like a motherfucker, because the concept of an adult, the concept of an adult means that you supposedly, like, just your childish side, your childlike nature dies and it's no longer there. No, your childlike nature just matures and it learns how to control its environment. It's not running all frivolously. It's now accepting, the duality. Like your childlike nature is a singularity. You feel me? There's no duality in the shit whatsoever. That's why like children can't perceive good or bad. Children can't perceive right or wrong. They just do shit. Like your adult nature is where the duality has to come in between your childlike behavior and your imaginative factors and all of that. So you start to now condense yourself, because the more the more adult you become, the more you isolate into a specific box. You feel what I'm saying? You isolate into a specific box. But as children, they teach us to go inside of the box first. You feel me? They teach us to go inside of the box. So being yourself is kind of hard when you're in a system where you're conformed and you have to follow a certain path. You feel what I'm saying? It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it's almost like the right side of your brain is completely obliterated while you're in the education system, because it's only going to focus on your left side. You know what I'm saying? Your right side of your brain helps make your individuality more so than anything. You feel what I'm saying? So there's certain things that people do, like once we get into schools, being ourselves is kind of hard to be. They'll give you a task and a project, and it's like, yo, you're graded according to certain metrics, and you're aligned with certain things, and being yourself becomes hard because now you have to be somebody else. You feel what I'm saying? There's 7 planes of learning. You feel me? There's 7 planes of learning. You have music, interpersonal, spatial, kinesthetic, interpersonal, language, and logistics, right? So with those 7 planes of learning, there's some within that 7. You feel what I'm saying? You fall into one of those. Everybody has the potential to be all 7, but there's one that's going to dominate, and a lot of us, that's when our being ourselves stops, because you have some people that, are better from learning through a perspective of language. And you have people that are, better at learning through a perspective of kinesthetics, but they're in an area where they're being taught spatially. So it feels like, I can't, it's hard for me to, like, if you just have to get better at it. They're not teaching according to who you are. You're not learning according to who you are. So now you're having to conform yourself into who you have to be. You feel what I'm saying? So that then plays this role, because as time goes on, you continue down a set path. So then by the time you become an adult, you're no longer able to be yourself 100%. So your manifestations now have to enter this world through who you've become. You feel what I'm saying? Through who you become. And that becomes problematic, and that becomes hard, because if you've had to work excessively just to be successful at the mold that you've been created in, you're going to have to work excessively for your manifestations to come in. Am I saying that, the things that you're supposed to be doing in life are going to be easy? Hell the fuck no. Everything is a challenge. Everything needs work. Everything is an obstacle. You have to put in the work to get it. However, it's easier to do. It's easier to operate when you're bringing manifestations in aligned with who you are. You feel what I'm saying? There's so many people who started as artists as kids, and now they're working in areas where they can't even be creative anymore. You feel what I'm saying? So how do you think their manifestations are supposed to come into this world? Dull, drab, like they're not what the person is supposed to be. So then when you have someone who's living in their life and they're moving according to, how their life is supposed to be moved, because they've accepted that and they're moving according to who they are, their manifestations come out a lot better. You feel what I'm saying? Their manifestations come out a lot better. They come out a lot stronger. And it's like, yo, you look at them and you'll say, yo, you got the Midas touch. It's like you got the Midas touch, everything you touch, because they're bringing their reality out according to who their authentic self really is. You feel what I'm saying? And a lot of us, by losing that authentic self, it's hard to be comfortable in your own skin. You feel what I'm saying? It's hard to be comfortable as yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Like when you're uncomfortable with who you are, because now you're having to conform to this, but like that's how anxiety is so heavy. That's how so many of these mental issues that we have are manifesting themselves, because not many people are able to comfortably be who they are. We're comfortably able to be what appeals to everybody else. You feel what I'm saying? We're comfortably able to appeal to what everybody else is. So, from my own personal perspective, for example, when I wrote, like I said, I'm a forensic biologist. that can't be taken away from me. I put in the work. I earned the degree. I became a forensic biologist. That information, that knowledge base is there. However, I'm me. I'm me. In addition to studying forensic biology, I also studied other realms of health, nutrition, and science. So when I wrote the Hitting It Raw book, which is basically a guide on how to eat right, according to the plant-based lifestyle, how to put things into your body accordingly, like food combining, emotional attachments, how to make, transition into the lifestyle, correctly. But, there was a split between it. You feel me? There were people who read the book, like people that know me, they read the book and they would say, yo, every word that I read, it's like I can hear you. Like I can hear you talking. Like this is really like, and that's how it's supposed to be. I have to present it as my authentic self. That manifestation has to come out accordingly. But then there's the other dynamic of people who say your book should have been more professional. And by professional, they don't mean from the professional definition of having the skill set. They mean professional in the sense of appealing to people. With all due respect, if any, I don't give a fuck about appealing to the people. I give a fuck about giving my message how I have to give it. Expressing myself how I have to express it, my authentic self. That's how my manifestation is real. So when it comes into this world, I'm not saying I should have done this better. I could have did that better, or I should have tweaked that. I don't have to worry about that because I gave this as my authentic self and it's received authentically. You feel what I'm saying? People, despite which realm they were in, where they're saying, okay, you need to be professional, or I can hear your voice when you say it, they could not deny the information. And that's what the whole purpose of it was. You feel what I'm saying? But that happens to so many of us on a regular basis, but we fall to it. We fall to it. When someone says, hey, you need to do this a certain way, or hey, you need to do that a certain way, or, what they're telling you is they're speaking from their own perspective, but it seems as if, they're trying to give you the better way. But the way that they're giving you is stripping you of your authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? So now you're moving into a realm where you're not even comfortable in what you're doing because you can't give yourself 100%, because who you are as a whole is like, it's not going to be received properly, because who you were even as a child growing up, it was never received properly. People have kept coming for you and telling you, okay, look, you need to change this. You need to do that. Nobody ever said, look, let's figure out how to be your best possible self at what you do. They said, just be the best at what you're doing. So what do you have to do to be the best at what you're doing? You have to see who the best is and you have to emulate that. You feel what I'm saying? Perfect example is LeBron James. And Kobe Bryant too. But the template for that man's level of greatness is Michael Jordan. Everybody says in order for LeBron to be the best, he has to have 6 rings. In order for him to be the best, he has to drop these numbers. In order for him to be the best. But what they're failing to realize is LeBron is the best possible version of himself that he could ever be. And he never failed to it. Yeah, he knows that he's in the conversations with the talks. And I remember he had an interview and they asked him, it was like one of the playoff series or whatnot. They might have lost this series. I might be off on it. But in the interview, they asked him, they said, why do you think you can make a comeback? He said, because I'm the best player in the world. And he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying, but he knew himself. And he knew that. He knew his authentic self, and his manifestation comes out every night he plays basketball. People are criticizing, oh, well, you couldn't take the Lakers to the finals. You can't do this. I play professional basketball and I'm LeBron fucking James. Like, I don't have to take them to the playoffs. Nobody can take away what I've done. Nobody can take away me being my 100% authentic self day in and day out in this game. But I have my authentic self has shown so much and I have done so much that the only thing you can do is compare me to who you call the best. And I have to match that template, and I can't because I'm not him. But see, another point that they're leaving out when it comes to Michael Jordan, yes, he is considered the best basketball player on the face of this earth. You feel what I'm saying? He's the greatest. Everybody unanimously will say that. I personally, put Kobe in there, but as a whole, Jordan is the greatest basketball player to play the game. But what they're not telling you is that Jordan was Jordan. Like Jordan was his authentic self. Jordan did not emulate anybody. You feel me? But everybody wanted to be like Mike. So if your focus in your manifestations is to be the best, if your focus, like, you have to find who the best is, change that and say my manifestations have to come as me being my best self. That's with all my quirks. That's what, like, and that's another point, because so many people talk about, oh, I have to embrace my flaws. You can't be flawed. No individual person can be flawed. You feel me? You're flawed when you compare yourself to the standards of other things, of other people. That's when your flaws show. But when you're 100% authentic within yourself, that's not a flaw. That's not a flaw, because that helps make you. Even if you consider it negative, it has to still balance with something positive to make you who you are, bring you to your best possible self. You feel me? Should you understand it, and should you move beyond it and not let it get to you? You feel what I'm saying? But because we let it get to us, that limits us from being who we are, because we're limited by being who we're trying to be. You feel what I'm saying? Like, no matter what you call your creator, whether it's the universe, whether it's the source, whether it's God, Allah, Jehovah, Yeshua, I'm not here to debate that. But if you believe that you serve and you honor and you are guided by a perfect being that created you in its image, how the fuck are you not perfect? Yes, you will not be perfect by someone else's standard. But if every day you're the best that you could possibly be, you're exhibiting yourself the way they created you, 100%. If you say, we have to keep that same energy. If we're acknowledging that this being created me, put me in this position, it gave me everything that I needed. You think it really messed up when it made you? You feel what I'm saying? There's other factors that play into why we may feel unworthy of being, but it's being created you perfectly. And by you trying to be something else, trying to emulate something else, you then become imperfect. And then that's when you can't be your authentic self. And that's when your manifestations start to dwindle, because now you can't bring reality. You can't bring the things that you want to in reality. So now this goes back to when people say, why do you still use profanity in the shit that you say? Or, you're too intelligent for that. You should be using, because sometimes I don't fucking want to use big words. How about that? You feel me? But that's a part of my authentic self. I know what they mean. I know how to use them. I can write them, spell them, and use them in a sentence sometimes, even if it it fits perfectly and I can make it work. Sometimes I just don't feel like using it. You feel me? And that's perfectly fine. That don't take shit away from me. You feel me? I can easily say, yo, somebody humiliated the fuck out of me. Or I can say, yo, that shit brought me down. Like, you feel me? Sometimes you don't want to use that. And I shouldn't have to do that all the time, because now when I get into that realm and I'm doing this on a regular basis, when I slip up and do something else, it's shocking. When you're not able to be your authentic self, the moment you show a part of yourself that's not, put on the face of, what the authenticity really is, what people perceive the authenticity to be, then they're shocked. They're like, oh, I can't believe you just said that. I don't fucking know why. But if I show you this on a regular basis, there's no shock. There's no shock at all. You're just like, okay, this is who you are. Hence why everything that I do is Just Sing, even the Just Sing podcast. Because you're going to get something, but you're going to get me. At the end of the day, you're going to get my authentic self. I could drop a deep gem. I could drop all of that shit, and I can put a whole motherfucking mystical, philosophical line together. But sometimes it's better understood when it's just me. You feel me? I'm not trying to get you to understand something different, something deeper, and that's what the fuel is behind my manifestations, by not limiting myself. You feel what I'm saying? Because the moment you do, you start, you bind your manifestations. You keep them bound to what you can do. And this is, they teach you that sky is the limit. You have the potential to do whatever it is in this world that you want. You feel me? Whatever it is that you want, just not that. Whatever that may be. You can do whatever it is in the world you want, just not that. You feel me? There's something that has been said to you. There's something that you've wanted to do, and somebody has, but not that. They have did that to you or done that to you. And they've done that to you, not necessarily by saying not that, but asking you one simple question. Why would you want to do that? right? Sometimes we got to take a step back when motherfuckers ask us that shit. Feel me? When they say, but why would you want to do that? You know, because the moment that question is asked, we now think to ourselves, why would I want to do that? And then now you have to justify them. You have to justify to, oh, because of this, because of that, because of that. You feel me? But that goes into a deeper aspect. They're asking you a question about a part of you they don't even know. So before you answer, you know, and try to give them a whole breakdown of, you know, maybe I should, you know, because now you're going to start thinking that shit in the back of your mind. Because now you're 9 times out of 10, when you say that, you're saying it to a person who you look towards. You're saying it to a person who sees you, and you hold their opinion of you in high esteem, in high regard. So when you bring it to them, you would want that encouragement. Like, that's why it's like, I'm gonna get back on point, but this is important. Like, I look at certain entrepreneurs and they always say, I want my family to support me. Your family knows you as they know you. You feel me? If you're an entrepreneur and you want familiar support, you want support from anybody, you're doing it wrong. You feel me? You're going to be supported by those who can see your authentic self in the shit that you're trying to bring into this world. Not for the money. You feel me? Excuse me. Not for the money. Not for anything you know, not for the money, not for the fame or whatever it is that you're going for. It's when you're able to 100% be your authentic self, you are more easily equipped to become a successful entrepreneur. But then when you say, okay, I want support from like, your family doesn't know the changes that you go through when you're alone. Nobody does. Nobody does. So your niche now has to be who can fuck with you when you fuck with you the most. You feel what I'm saying? You can't just go chasing shit. You feel what I'm saying? But that then goes back, as I said, to the bound manifestations, and now going back into when people ask you why, because they're asking why, because they're seeing that you're presenting something from a side of you that they don't know about. Why don't they know about it? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Why don't they know about it? Because if you present shit to anybody and the first question they ask you was why, they're confused. There's a disconnect there in which they don't know something about you. They're missing out on something about you, because it should not even be a question of why if they really knew you. But how would they really know you if that aspect that you're trying to show them, you've never shown them before. You've never been able to show them before. And now you have to fight for it. So now the anger and the disappointment and the different emotions that come about when you feel people don't believe in you, it's not that they don't believe in you. They just never seen that side of you. They've never seen that side of you. So you have to give them your 100% authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? When I come to my friends about certain shit, and they just be like, all right, go for it. What you waiting on? There's certain friends that I have because I've been in a position to where I can show my authentic self to them. But there's also people who I would say, okay, I want, like, this close friends, family, like, that I will come to and say, hey, I want to do this. I don't think that's a good idea for you. What? I used to get offended by it. I used to be like, the fuck, are you doubting me? Like, are you saying I can't do this? Or no, that's not what they're saying at all. You've never shown that authenticity. You never showed that aspect of how you can bring that into reality through your authentic self, because you've never shown it. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes we're scared to show that side of us, because it's like, a lot of times the part of us that we're scared most to show is the part of us that we need to show the most. You know? And we're scared to show it because we don't want it to be rejected. I'm gonna keep it a whole 100 being with you. Fuck if you get rejected. As long as you know that you gonna be approved by the shit. You gotta approve yourself for the world to approve you. You feel what I'm saying? You gotta approve yourself for the world to approve you, because if you don't, then you're going to be bound. And then you're gonna do what? Fall into the realm of conformity. And then you'll be mad. You know? Then you'll be mad. You'll be angry. You'll be walking through this realm just, you know, just mad, because it's like, now you're upset. This is why a lot of people have midlife crises when you get about 40 to 50, because then you look at your life and say, I've never been my authentic self, and I've never got to do what the fuck I wanted to do when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I actually had that. Old heads would tell you all the time, the youth is wasted on the young. I've had older people tell me that shit so much. I said, you know what? I'm not wasting my youth. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. I caught major flack for it. Major flack for it. In the beginning stages of my entrepreneurship, I caught major flack for it. I've heard it all from, I'm disappointed in you. I thought you were stronger. I'm like, damn, like, cause I quit, like I left school and I decided to, do my own shit. I already got a degree in forensic biology, my path changed. Like, that's what happens in life. When you start to exhibit your authentic self, when you start, like, you'll start to see certain shit. Now, let me put a disclaimer in there, because I don't want y'all motherfuckers to hear this shit and be like, he told me to. No, don't quit your job. Don't just get your revelation moment and say, I'm going to completely change life. I'm not telling you to do that shit. If you do it and you get through it, so be it. Because if you do it and you fail, you're not blaming me. You feel what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and say that shit right now. But when your authentic self begins to shine, certain things are going to shake up. Certain things are going to change within you. Certain shit is going to naturally happen. You can't fight it. Only way you can fight it is if you silence your inner being, which is who your authentic self is in totality. You feel what I'm saying? And that's when you end up, conforming and shit. That's when you end up conforming to reality. And when you conform, your manifestations come through in that same manner. You're only going to be able to manifest and bring into the world what you invest your most time in. Like I tell people all the time, like, you can pray and you can ask for whatever it is that you ask for, but you're only going to get it within the capacity that you're willing to be yourself. You feel what I'm saying? If I say that if I say I want to achieve a certain goal, that goal is going to be achieved as you show the most. I tell people all the time, the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you speak about the most. And by what you speak about the most is also what you involve yourself with the most. You feel what I'm saying? What you involve yourself with around the most, that creates your environment. That creates your habitat. That's your niche. That's where your manifestation has to live. Are you trying to manifest something that will die in the current place that you're living? I don't just mean physically. Is your current state of mind, is your current mentality, does it have the viability for whatever it is you're trying to manifest to come into reality? If not, you're a wishful thinker. Because you're not even giving it a space to, like, this is why when people receive good shit, they fuck it up. When people receive the shit that they've been praying for, they've been asking for, they've been requesting, they fuck it up. You feel what I'm saying? Because the person or whatever it was that brought that manifestation into reality was the person that had to keep it in motion. But however, that manifestation did not fit that realm. It did not fit that habitat. It did not fit that environment. You dig what I'm saying? It didn't fit that. And because it didn't fit that, they lost it. You feel what I'm saying? So this is why it's like you have to be your authentic self through and through and allow that shit to happen. Not just behind closed doors, because that's another thing. If you're not able to be your authentic self in the world will never see what you're trying to give it. You feel what I'm saying? If the things that I want the most, the desires that I'm scared to talk about, I'm scared to walk in, I'm scared to carry myself as if I already have, it's not going to manifest itself. And if it does manifest itself, it's only going to manifest itself enough to where only I can see it. Because I'm my authentic self. We're all our authentic selves when we're 100% by ourselves. So any manifestation that we want from that realm that we're not showing the world, it's not going to come into the world. It's not going to come in the way that you think it's going to come in. And if it does, like I said, it has to be hidden because you don't even want the world to see it, because you're not even strong enough. I ain't going to say strong enough because I don't want to seem like I'm putting people down. You're not even in the capacity at that particular emotion to show the world that point of your authentic self. So that manifestation can't be as magnified as you want it to be. It's going to stay as magnified as it can stay in your head. You feel what I'm saying? Because it then becomes fuel off of the people that you're around. But like I said, when you're able to be your authentic self, that energy manifests. Be your authentic self 100% and be able to achieve and receive the things that you're doing. But once we conform and we box in, our manifestations reside. They have to live in that box. That's the only place they can live. All right. Look. The markets are not a difficult place to understand. All right. You just have to know what you're looking at. And there's 5 things that you need to see before you can make any market entry. First, you need a pocket so you can know which direction the market is going in. Second, you need a pullback so you can get the better price. Third, you need a battlefield so you can see when that market movement is slowing down. Fourth, you need the upper hand so you can see when the market reactivates. And last, you need a final push so you can see the exact moment when it's time to go with the direction you are already moving in. Okay? Of course, there's so much more that has to go into that, and it's not as cut and dry as that. But those are things that I teach in my Mastering the Market course. So if you would like to learn more, please visit unapologetically.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today. Although it is directed and specialized for Forex, all of the skills, I crafted them to be transferable to any market that you're looking at. So again, visit IamJustSing.com and check out the Mastering the Market course today if you are truly looking to master the market. Oh yeah, and don't forget, while I still got you, you can use promo code QUARANTINE to save over 90% off of the enrollment of the full price of the course. That is QUARANTINE, QUARANTEEN. You know, we have to be willing to take that chance to say, you know what, it's time for me to be me. It's time for me to be me. Now, this, like I said, things are going to change over time. It's not to say, hey, I'm going to snap my fingers right motherfucking now and I'm going to be myself 100%. You can't. You got to build into that. You got to ease into that. You got to start getting comfortable with that first within yourself. You feel me? When you're comfortable with that within yourself, then the world can accept it. You know what I mean? You just can't say, I'm going to be this tomorrow. And you've never practiced it a day in your life. Never practiced it a day in your life. It's like, whoa. Shock treatment. It's a quantum leap. You feel me? Nobody can make quantum leaps like that. You know, it's rare that people can make that elevated jump. So it's like when you see people, you know, living their best life, when you see people doing like, and you want that, it's like, yo, are you manifesting yourself 100%? Or are you manifesting yourself according to the reality that you want? You know, and you're being your authentic self. You know, I've involved myself with women who behind closed doors, they're one way. You know, but in around like they have a niche of friends. That's why birds of a feather flock together. You feel what I'm saying? Birds of a feather flock together. And this is a part of our authenticity and our manifestation, because what we're around the most, that's what develops into our authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? That's what develops into our authentic self. So the woman that I was dealing with, perfect woman, beautiful woman, like, you know, but she was scared to show that side of her that really wanted to be greater. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm the type of motherfucker, like, if you tell me you want to do something, I'm going to push you to do it. Because if I decide I want to do something, I'm going to work towards it. That's just me. I don't give a fuck what it is. It could be small. It could be big. It could be something that's completely left field. And people be like, I don't know why you would want to try that. You know? That's something that I've learned to do. When, like, I silence a lot of motherfuckers because if I say I want to go into a new venture, if I say I want to do something new, people are like, why? I'm like, why not? They ain't got shit to say after that. Because when they ask why, you feel me? They expect me to defend it. They expect me to say, well, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. Like, why not? If you got a valid, because I already know why I'm doing this shit. I don't got to explain it to you. But if you are feeling, you know, this goes, like I said, this goes back into when people don't know that aspect of you. You know, people don't know that aspect of you because you don't show it. So when people ask me why I want to do something, you don't know the aspect of me that wants to bring that into reality. That's unfortunate for you because you're going to see that aspect and you're going to see what it is, because I'm not going to just let that. I'm like, yo, why not? You know what? That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, you can't answer it no, because now you're trying to project your shit on me. If you were me, you would be asking, why should I do this shit? You're not me. You feel me? All you see is the tip of the iceberg. You know what I'm saying? So it's like whatever route I decide to take, whatever route I want to take, I do so. Because I'm like, okay, in order for this manifestation to happen, I have to be my authentic self. You know, I have to be my authentic self. And if I'm not, like I said, I'm just conforming and I'm just staying in a box. And it's like, there's a lot of us right now, especially us millennials, as they call us and shit, but whatever. There's a lot of us right now that's like every day we think about doing more. Every day we want to do more. Every day we have the desire to do more, but something holds us back. You know what that is? It's not fear. It's not fear. Because fear will keep you from even having a thought. You wouldn't even think about doing this shit. So it's not really fear. It's the fact that you haven't shown that authentic self part of yourself. And you think the world is not going to like it. You think the world is not going to accept it. Fuck the world. Like, the world is going to accept whatever the hell you present it confidently. Like, for real. Biggest example is when it comes to men getting numbers. Right? When it comes to us getting phone numbers and shit. Like, when it's time for you to get a phone number from a woman, you can say the same line as another man. But if your authentic self is showing, that will determine how you get that number. If you get that number at all. You feel what I'm saying? You can walk into a woman and say, hey, can I have your number? You feel me? And your energy will manifest. I'm not really doing this for me. I don't really feel comfortable enough to do this shit. You feel me? But then it's like, it's no sweat. It's no brainer when you're 100% authentic self. It's like, yo, can I get your number? And she just gives it to you. Don't it? Like, it's like, yo, the conversation was good. Like, yo, let me call you later. You feel me? It is like, they say it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. And it's how you say it based off of if your authentic self is showing. You feel what I'm saying? So how would you expect the world to embrace you when you have, worries, when you have doubts about showing your authentic self 100%? You feel what I'm saying? So your manifestations are going to be in that same dynamic. You feel what I'm saying? And if your manifestations aren't truly there, then you have to really sit back and think about that shit, yo. You have to think about what it is that you're not authentically doing. Because, like I said, whatever your spiritual practice, whatever your religious practice, whatever it is that's backing you spiritually, you have to be authentic with that too. You feel what I'm saying? You have to be authentic with that too. When I speak and I convene with whatever it is that I'm convening with, how I speak to people is how I speak in that realm. Why? Because, again, it goes back. Now, I'm not telling you to do this. You have to get to the point of understanding that I have. You feel what I'm saying? Like, again, it goes back to the number thing. You feel what I'm saying? You'll receive your blessings according to the confidence that you have with being your authentic self. Because we talk all the time. I hear it a lot. And I'm not taking it away from people. It is what it is. People will say, insert deity's name, knows my heart. You feel me? They use that as an accountability piece and the scapegoat to justify the bullshit that they do on a regular basis. I'm not getting into that right now. But it's like they'll say that being knows your heart. But do you know your heart? You feel what I'm saying? Because to say that being knows your heart, and then it's like you're out doing whatever it is that you're doing on a regular basis, right? You partying and everything like that. Partying, there's nothing wrong with it. That's your life. But own that shit. That's a part of your authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? But don't in one breath live this life, and then when it's time to ask for something, when it's time to get that spiritual connection, that spiritual push to get you to the next phase of life, now you want to come like a beggar. Now you want to come and change your language. Now you want to speak a certain way. Now you want to, you don't want to come in that gossipy tone that you speak with people on a regular basis. You don't want to use the slip ups of profanity that you have on a regular basis. Like, you come to them as, a lowly servant, a humble peasant, or whatever it is. And you on your knees, you're asking, you're not even asking, you're begging for it to happen, because now you have to change your tone. You're not able to speak with the same confidence that you would ask a motherfucker on the street something with. You're not able to speak with that same confidence that you just cussed another motherfucker out for. You feel what I'm saying? That shit gotta balance out. You feel what I'm saying? Now, am I saying that I speak disrespectfully to to my spiritual connections? No, I don't. But at the same time, if I'm in my authentic self and I slip up and say a cuss word, me, Racine, just sing. I'm not in the space to feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm not in this because that's my level of understanding, because I know I got to be my authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? We say all the time, this being is watching. Insert your favorite, your deity here. They're watching me. They're hearing me. They know everything. They see everything. They know exactly what's going on. They know when it's going on. They know how it's moving. Right? You can't absolve that. You can't go do all of this wild shit and then come back like you don't be doing wild shit. You just can't do it. You feel what I'm saying? But if you going out doing wild shit, you need to own that you do wild shit and act accordingly, because your manifestations will still come into reality. Now, again, I'm not telling you to do this, but at the same time, when we look at people who we say this person lives a certain life, but they still being blessed because that person on the other side is still acting authentically. You feel me? They're acting authentically. They don't feel guilt for what they do. They don't feel shame for what they do. And they act accordingly. So their manifestations still come out because they're now creating a realm for their authentic self. So whatever it is, it has to be able to live here. So I want it to be able to live here comfortably. So I have to ask for it in the dynamic in which I want it to live. I have to bring it into fruition in the dynamic in which I want it to live. You feel what I'm saying? So that plays into how your manifestations into this world. You feel what I'm saying? Or why they take so long to come into this world. Because a lot of times we're not even prepared for what we're asking for the most. And then we're like, the opportunity to come. The motherfucker passed right by us. And we'll say, damn it, I missed it. It just wasn't for me. Well, it doesn't mean no, it means not yet. It means you weren't fucking prepared. It means you were not prepared. And that's why you missed it. And that's harder to accept. You feel what I'm saying? It's easier to say it just wasn't for me than it is to accept, damn it, I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared for the shit. You feel what I'm saying? I was not prepared for it. You know, I remember one specific situation. I don't think I'll ever live this down, you know, if she brings it up. But anyway, I was dealing with a woman who we were supposed to go out. And it was like, we had to be there at like 8:30, 9 o'clock or some shit like that. I'm a punctual motherfucker. I'm very punctual. If I say I'm going to be somewhere at a certain time, I'm going to be there at a certain time. If I say I want to do something at a certain time or do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I hit her up and I'm like, yeah, I will be there at 8 o'clock. She's like, all right. I said, be ready at 8 o'clock. All right, I will. Next day, be ready at 8 o'clock. All right, I will. I got you, Dad. I'm going to be ready. All right, time goes. I'm constantly reminding her because I knew I was going to get there. Motherfucker wasn't going to be ready. But I knew that I really wanted to be at this event. Okay. So 8 o'clock, pull up. I'm there at 7:58 and 37 seconds. Right there. You know, call. I'm ready. I'm here. Hold on. I'm not ready yet. Give me 30 minutes. You left. And I left her. I caught flat. Oh, I could have waited. No. No. Because now I'm violating my authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? I'm violating my authentic self. And what she allowed me to believe was her authentic self wasn't it. I would have been more patient. I probably would have waited. Had she said, I'm not going to be ready on time. I'm going to tell you right. And then I get it. They say the shit all the motherfucking time. Well, women ain't never ready. And then they complain about you putting your shoes on. Women, at the end of the day, if you know that this is the type of person that you're dealing with, if you accept that this is the type of person that, you know, I kind of like, you got to take all that comes with it. You feel what I'm saying? And at the same time, you have to, I could look at, that's why I said I can catch flack for that because I was supposed to accept, but it's like when you lead me to believe something, that's different. I don't have to accept that. I don't have to accept the deception. Like if you led me to believe that you were going to be ready at 8, like I said, I would have waited had I, you know what I'm saying? You would have kept it real with me. You know, I'm probably not going to be, but a lot of times, like I said, we're scared to show our authentic self. We're scared to show our authentic self with a fear that it won't be accepted by somebody else. That was the whole metaphor that I'm using with this. You feel what I'm saying? Had she said, you know, yeah, I'm not going to be ready at that time. You feel me? Maybe I would have waited as long as I could because I'm not going to miss this event. You feel what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, I got the calls the next day. Dad, you really left me. Yeah, I did. That is so fucked up. That is foul. I can't believe you did some shit like that. I can't believe you told me you will be ready at 8 knowing damn well you weren't. Shut the whole conversation up. Gave me the whole spiel about, well, you know how women do. Well, women shouldn't do that shit. If we agree and I'm reminding you, you feel me? And you know that you're like this. You know that you know yourself. You know in your authentic self, this is who you are. You feel what I'm saying? Now it goes back into what I was saying. if you're not living in your authentic self when you try to bring try to bring a manifestation into this realm, guess what's going to happen to that manifestation? It's going to disappear. It's not going to stay there. It's going to be gone. Why? Because you're trying to bring it into a space that it cannot live. You feel what I'm saying? You're trying to bring it into a space that it cannot live. You know? And so that's why I'm like, when people say, you know, certain spiritual beings know their heart. Do they really? So they know that your heart is wishy-washy. They know that you're not serious about half the shit that you say. Or they know that you're not going to be your authentic self in what you ask for. Or that you're going to ask for the shit and then not even put the work in to keep it. That's a question that you really got to ask, because it's like, are you in this position where your authentic self shows so much that you're giving any manifestation that you create position to live there? You know, because if you're not, you have to reevaluate. You really have to reevaluate what you perceive and what you consider to be, you know, manifesting. You know, I'm into astrology. I'm into numerology. I'm into shit like that. But at the same time, you feel what I'm saying? You can't only let those be the mediums in which you decide that you're going to put some work in. You feel what I'm saying? Full moon hit, new moon hit. I want to set my motherfucking intentions. I want to bring this into reality. Motherfucking write down all this shit on paper, burn it, do whatever it is that you're going to do, and don't do not a single bit of action. Why? Because that's not your authentic self. Motherfuckers go ham on social media. Soon as the new moon hit, everybody reposting, let me get my shit in order, Then half a month happened, and you like, yo, what happened? It just didn't come yet. Because your authentic self wasn't showing. You feel me? Your authentic self isn't showing. You feel what I'm saying? And you're trying to manifest something. It's like, it's not going to come into this world. It knows it's not authentic because you're not doing this and shit devoid of the moon. Let's say a motherfucker didn't know shit about, you know, lunar eclipses, like the energies that the stars and shit would give you. Would you sit and do it? Would you put in the work to actually make shit real for you? That's a question you really got to ask yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Because is your authentic self showing? And are you only able to talk about shit like this around motherfuckers that fit this niche? You feel what I'm saying? I talk about shit that I want to talk about to whoever the fuck I want to talk about it with. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's me. That's my authentic representation. You feel me? I don't mind giving you, if I'm trying to explain something and I know I can get it from a reference from a cartoon, I'm going to talk about that fucking cartoon. You feel what I'm saying? If I know that I can get it from a reference out of a science book, some organic chemistry shit, I'm going to talk to you about organic chemistry to get the fucking point across. That's me. That's what I'm going to do. And so my manifestations, they operate accordingly. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of, I'm just a quick sidebar. I'm still going to continue, but this is kind of why when the person asks, like, why do you still use profanity and shit? Because this is me. Just saying. Nothing less, always more. The fuck I'm gonna do like what I feel is necessary for me to do. You feel what I'm saying? That which has created me, that which has put me on this earth, it knew what the fuck it was doing. It knew what the fuck it was made. Like I was put in the conditions that I was in because of this very situation, to be able to live how I want to live, to be able to express myself 100%. I don't feel bad that, you know, I grew up in poverty and now I've made it out. You feel me? I don't feel bad that I don't look like. Now, granted, in undergrad, I changed this a little bit. You feel me? I came from the hood. You feel what I'm saying? But then when I went to undergrad, I act like I wanted to put that shit. Like so many of us lose our authentic self at that point. We go to academia and shit. We change. You feel what I'm saying? But it was like when I got myself back, and it was like I conformed like a motherfucker to the system. You feel me? But then when I went to the next level and shit, something sparked. Something went different, and it was like I can't be in this shit. And the thing that got me. That what it was, I never forget it. It was a conversation I had with the professor. And he told me, well, he was speaking to the class. He said, I feel like the Black Panther Party was a terrorist organization. Shit threw me. And at the end of the day, I was like, there was 2 other black people in the class. It was like 11 of us in the class. 3 of us was black. You feel me? Somebody got to say some shit. Somebody. But I was like, damn. We can't even, fuck that. I got to say some shit. So you feel me? So I said what I said or whatever. He was like, I respect your opinion and everything. I said, it's not an opinion, my guy. It's a fact. Like, they weren't a terrorist group. They were responding to terrorism. You feel what I'm saying? So at that point, that's when the people started walking out of the class. You know, I expected them to walk out of the class. But then it was like the people that looked like me were leaving out of it too. Like, y'all weren't even going to chime in. Right? So this was a particular Tuesday. So every Tuesday after the class, the whole class, because it was 11 of us, we would just go to the bar that's right down the street. So we go to the bar. And I'm like, yo, I left that shit in the classroom. Like, I'm not going to change, like, none of that shit that, you know, I said. You feel me? Because that's the reality. So we go to the bar and it was like, you know, the ones that look like me, like, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you didn't say that shit. I mean, I feel what you're saying. Like, it's right. Like, it wasn't, but you know, he's a I don't give a fuck. I'm able to be who I am. I have to be who I am. He said something that disagreed with me. And then he did it. I felt like he did it in a manner to see who he can test. You feel what I'm saying? I ain't no bitch. The fuck? You got me fucked up. You feel me? So when he responded, I'm like, yo, they're not a terrorist group. So I was like, so what you feel about the KKK? You feel me? You know, I'm going in. Because it's like at this point, you're trying me. But my authentic self has to be there through and through. It has to be there through and through, because the moment I compromise that in one dynamic, I'm willing to compromise it in all. As they say, if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. You feel what I'm saying? I get it. And then it's like, some people say there's a time and place for it. Sometimes it's like, no, I have to be my authentic self 100% of the time, because my manifestations depend on it. The life that I'm willing to create, the shit that I want to put into this world, it relies on me being my authentic self. You feel what I'm saying? So I can't just pick and choose when I want to be authentic. I got to be that shit all the time. So to answer the question of why do you still use profanity? Because I fucking can. This shit don't take away from my intelligence. It don't take away from my mental capacity. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and then the individual, like I said, they read my book, Hitting It Raw, right? And the conversation that they said was, you know, I felt like, you know, the profanity took away from the information. No. The profanity that I used in it, I said shit a couple times. I think I said fuck maybe, but I don't know. But the profanity didn't take away from the information. Your distraction by the profanity took away from the information. I said, but let me ask you this. Was the information something that you couldn't get? Yeah, it really helped me. So shut the fuck up. You got the message, right? You feel me? But see, again, that's a part of my, you know, my brashness. You feel me? This is how I speak. Like, this is my authentic self. So my manifestations, you know, enter this world according to that. And it's like, I can't turn this shit on and off and then expect my manifestations to be consistent. So I got to be this way all the way. Like, you feel me? Do I now, this is not to say, again, backtrack to something that I meant, because I kind of got off tangent on that. But this is not to say, you know, when you go somewhere, you know, or you're in a different environment, you don't move according to how they're moving. I do that well. I'm a chameleon with the shit. I can blend in when I need to. But when I know what the audience is and I know what my environment is, the fuck, I gotta be me. You feel me? But I gotta be me within that capacity. I'm not gonna disrespect anybody else's audience. I'm not gonna disrespect anybody else's platform or do no shit like that. You feel me? Like, if I get called to go speak at a college, I'm not gonna speak how I'm speaking on this podcast right now. Even if motherfuckers from the college have heard the podcast, I'm not gonna speak to these motherfuckers like that. You feel me? Yes, I know how to move. I know how to move. You feel what I'm saying? I can move in and out of these different realms easily, because I've learned that each one of these points, there's a part of me in that. You feel me? There's a part of me there. And being in a chameleon, like, I feel like we all need to be that, but our operating in our 100% authentic self allows us to have that chameleon. Like, when people be like, yo, you got to be real all the time. The realest people have fake tendencies. Like, that's a reality. In order to be real, you have to be fake. You have to know the component of being fake. Like, we're all real and fake to an extent. Fuck. From being as grand as you're, like, you know, being a fake motherfucker snitching, like motherfuckers doing all of this gang shit, and then, you feel me, you go to prison, and then you snitch on everybody and violate the complete code of the streets. That's a different level of fakeness, but you have to do that because that's a part of who you are. from doing something as small as the bill collector's call. Nah, my mama said she ain't here. You feel what I'm saying? It's the small fakeness. But at the same time, we all have to turn it on and off. You know, you have to put that voice on in certain dynamics. You feel what I'm saying? I could put that voice on. I just don't like putting that voice on anymore. And I put myself in a position where for the collective and the shit that I do, I don't have to do that shit for them. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's the point that I built. But being a chameleon is easy, and all of us can do it. All of us can do it well. But at the same time, we have to come out of the conformity box. We have to start operating and manifesting according to who our authentic self really is. You feel what I'm saying? The moment you know your authentic self, the world changes for you. That's when doors really start to open up. You know, it's like I see a lot of people, you know, what's called the conscious community. You know, they get woke and then they stay in a box still. Like, you really supposed to be the motherfucker that just be 100% authentic. Like, I like to be myself, my unapologetic self. You know, my unapologetic self. Like, you know, I got two different styles of writing. You feel me? If you read So Frail and you read Hitting It Raw, you would think two different motherfuckers wrote the book. Because I catered it to who I was talking to. You feel what I'm saying? So Frail is something that has to stand the test of time. You feel what I'm saying? It has to stand the test of time. So I had to write it for generations to come. It's not just written, you know, for the moment. Hitting It Raw was written for the moment. The title is called Hitting It Raw. I wrote it for a hip hop generation of people who are trying to transition to the plant-based lifestyle. You feel what I'm saying? So when people ask me, why did you, you know, use, like, this is because it's scientific information. It's like real deep. I'm talking about proteins, lipids, you know, carbohydrates. I'm talking about food combining and breaking emotional attachments and shit like that. People ask me I'm like, look, right now, there's a motherfucker talking the same way that I wrote Hitting It Raw, telling your child to sip lean, telling your child to pop Xans and pills. And that is perfectly fucking fine. But when I talk about the health aspect of life, when I talk about eating better, when I talk about how to actually do it successfully, motherfuckers want to jump down my throat for speaking in the same way that a motherfucker is speaking that is destroying this motherfucker. You feel me? That is destroying this child. You feel what I'm saying? That is destroying this person. You feel what I'm saying? Sip lean, pop pills, you know, have reckless sex and do all this other shit. Now, granted, I listen to the music, so my ear is there. I know what it is. So when I write a book catered to that very shit, and I put metaphors and shit that's cultural, when I put expressions in there, that's what the fuck they're listening to on a regular basis. Why can't they read that shit? You feel what I'm saying? But again, that wasn't me. That was my authentic self. I wrote it how I speak. You feel what I'm saying? I wrote it how I speak because that's what it required. So, you know, when it comes to your manifestations and you bringing that shit into reality, like, yo, be your authentic self. Be your authentic self. Find out who you, like, that motherfucker that you are when you listening to your favorite music in the bathroom after you get out of the shower and you dancing in the mirror. That's you. That's your authentic self. That's who you are in your highest capacity. Be that shit on a regular basis. Find comfort in being that. Find solace in being that on a regular basis consistently. And you'll see how your manifestations begin to enter the world. You feel what I'm saying? If you truly say that you're being your deity or whatever it is that you're under, your spiritual guidance, it knows your heart, and your heart is in conflict with your reality, guess what else is going to be in conflict with your reality? The blessings that you think you're supposed to have that you're not getting, because the blessings that you want when you come to, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. And you're speaking to them from a different perspective. You're speaking to them from a perspective that you're not living on a regular basis. That's why it's like you go to church, or you go to church on Sunday, Saturday, whatever it is that you do. You go to the mall, you go wherever you're going on that one day. But then the other 6 days, you're not consistently acting that same way. So the manifestations are only going to be viable in the capacity that you are on that one day for 4 hours. You feel what I'm saying? It's what, 168 hours in a week? So for 164 hours, you bullshitting. Where you think your manifestation is going to live? Within a 4-hour time frame? Get real. Get real. You feel me? But be yourself. Be your authentic self. It's fun. It's lit. It's okay. Because the people that you're supposed to be around, the people that you're supposed to connect with on a regular basis, they're going to show themselves. And then you're going to start to find your soul tribe, your spiritual family and shit. And you're going to say, oh shit, manifestations are just falling. Like shit is just popping for me. Because it's supposed to. Life ain't meant to, like, achieving shit ain't supposed to be hard. But when you are your authentic self and now you're creating your reality through that authenticity, it's like the Midas touch, bro. Or sis, it's both of y'all up here. And don't forget to take a moment to go get your exclusive merchandise from Just Scenes merch. At Just Scenes, each piece is specifically crafted with positive imagery and symbolism. From the titles and designs to the descriptions, each style gives you something to feel great about. With everything from hoodies and tees to coffee mugs and tote bags, we have something for the entire family. So be sure to get yours today. Find us on Instagram at Just Scenes merch and get your merchandise right now. Yeah. So, yeah, I really, like this is something that was really a very important topic to me because, sometimes I'm asked like, how do you do the things you do? Why do you do the things you do? Like, how does it come so? Because I'm being myself. I'm being myself. I am being myself. Like, if some shit, if some shit sparks my interest, I'm gonna do it. Like, I like studying. I like, reading books and shit. I'm a scholar at heart, but you feel me? Like I tell people, like I like to epitomize ratchet and regal. The fuck, like I'm ratchet and regal. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. But see, because in our natural duality, in the conformity that we have, we try to operate from one perspective. And that's what fucks us up every time. A lot of us are multifaceted beings. We're multifaceted beings only operating for one facet of life. And it's the facet that people like the most. And then we got to put that image up. We got to keep that shit up. Like, you feel me? Now granted, am I telling you to like I said, completely change your life? But nah, start to bring out your manifestations according to yourself. You feel me? I live how I want to live. You feel me? I manifest the things according to who I am. You feel me? And these things, like, and when I'm not being who I am, I lose the manifestations. I lose them. Like, I'm not going to act like this shit is all peaches and cream and I get everything I want. No, when I'm not operating for myself and I'm asking for something or I'm trying to bring something into reality, like I said, this is experience that I'm speaking from. If that shit can't live in what realm I'm spinning it in, it's not going to live there. It's going to come. I'm going to taste it. It's going to go. Then I'm like, damn, I need to tighten up because I want this shit in my life. I need to tighten up. Or I need to do something, or I need to express it better from my own perspective, from my own inner being, authentically, unapologetically. You feel what I'm saying? Because that which you do authentically and that which you do unapologetically, that's what the fuck your life is going to be. You feel what I'm saying? That's what the fuck your life is going to be. Those are the things you're going to attract. Those are the things that your life is going to stay around. You feel what I'm saying? The shit that you're able to be like, because like I said, your manifestation can't live where it's not wanted. You feel me? You feel me? Like, let me rephrase that, because you want it, but you have not set the position up for it to live. It cannot live where it will thrive, where it won't thrive. Like if the manifestation comes in, it's like it's like a fucking plant, bro. You can bring the plant home, but if you don't water it, you don't give it sunlight, it's gonna die. Right? If you put it in a closet or you put it in a space where it cannot be viable, it's gonna die. Your manifestation has to be that same way. You feel what I'm saying? And if you are giving it a viable space, if you're all giving it a place of where it can live and where it can thrive, cool. But at the same time, if you're only gonna hide that from the world, you can't get mad at the world for not seeing that shit. If you have a gift, if you have something that you want everybody to see, you feel me? But that authentic aspect of you that you create, you keep to yourself, nobody's gonna see it, and that manifestation can't grow, and it's just gonna stay where it is. You feel what I'm saying? So this was, more so in a response to why the fuck I do what I do, but more so to show the capacity and the power behind doing it. You feel what I'm saying? The capacity and the power I have behind doing it. I'm not going to reach everybody. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to appeal to. I can't appeal to everybody because everybody has different forms of authenticity. But when I'm my authentic self, I appeal to whoever I'm supposed to appeal to, unapologetically. When I was younger, old head told me, a big homie told me, he said, the best way to fit in is to stand out. Seeing stands out. I stand out like a motherfucker. But that's because that's a part of my authentic self. I can't be what everybody else wants me to be. I can't do what everybody else wants me to do. And neither can you. And neither can you. Neither can people. Nobody can be what everybody else wants them to be, but we try every single day of our lives because we want to make somebody proud before we feel proud of ourselves. When you change that narrative and you start to feel proud for yourself first, you feel me? The people that are supposed to be proud of you, they will be. And everything's going to manifest accordingly. But the first quintessential point is being your 100% authentic self. When you are your 100% authentic self, your manifestations come in 100% authentically. You just got to give them a place to live. So with that, that's pretty much it, man. I don't want to go on too much more. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, follow me on social media. That kind of just ended. I ain't even transition that good. Like, yo, forgive me for that shit. But whatever. Nah, it's not whatever, man. Let me stop with y'all. But yeah, if you're not already, follow me on Instagram at _just_scene_. Follow my merchandise page at Just Scenes Merch. Follow my plant-based page at The Hitting It Raw Program. Get my book, So Frail 1, A Reality to Black Male Masculinity. So Frail 2, Toxic Femininity, and Hitting It Raw, Living the Raw Plant-Based Lifestyle for Life. And also, if you, feel in the spirit, you feel in the mood, I also accept donations and tips. You can find that in the description of the podcast in which you're listening on. And yeah, just I hope today, I'm saying, you're still in good vibes, you're in good spirits, and you just, go forward and just, be your authentic self. That's the best thing to be in this motherfucking world. You're your authentic self. When you can start to do that shit, you start to find more authentic motherfuckers, and you ain't got to worry about double-edged people. You ain't got to worry about snakes. You ain't got to worry about cutting grass. You ain't got to do none of that shit. Because you start to find motherfuckers whose spirit feels good, who naturally feels good, because you're like, yo, you're fucking you, And the reason why is because you're you. And when you're you 100% unapologetically, your life opens up and your manifestations come into this world accordingly. So with that said, I see you on the next episode. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom.